for the bigger print.
We're gonna make sure we got that.
October 9th. The next one is the one we really want everybody to come out. That's one where we're going to be passing the hat for the foundation. This is our informal world's greatest meal fundraiser for the foundation. So Saturday, we're going to get started early. If people want to come at 4-ish, you can come and just taste what we cook. It might take a little while. We're still working on timing, techniques, and stuff like that. So it'll be Saturday at my house. I've sent out an email with the address. If anybody needs it, feel free to email or text, and I'll send it to you. October 9th is when you should put on your calendar, and then obviously November 6th, that's the big event at Shooting Star.
Thanks, Scott. Do you need anything on Saturday? Other than us to just show up?
Yep, people come in the evening and have some food, watch some football.
Okay, a couple other announcements. Again, we have a new member orientation on September 27th at the satellite location, which is Cafe Pasta at 5:30. So if you have not experienced a new member orientation, please come. And they also have an induction. We're inducting, I think, 70 members in the evening club. And we have 3 or 4 applications out in process for the breakfast club. So great job bringing members. We're glad to have Glenn here, and I think your application's in the process. I saw the email this week. District golf tournament, October 14th. And then I just learned that the foundation banquet is next Saturday, November the 13th. So if you'll probably see something coming out in email, so check your email. And our district governor, Chris Justice, will be here November 11th at our breakfast meeting. And apologies to Ross. I don't know if y'all, it's interesting when you send out emails, because I know we get a lot of Rotary emails, but I always know who's paying attention or reading them because I get feedback. But anyway, I do know that Ross was Ross Geller and not Keller. I was trying to multitask yesterday, so apologies to Ross. We're still looking for volunteers for the Sergeant at Arms. I hate to volunteer you, so please volunteer. If there's a month that you would like to do that. Thanks to Bobby and Chris Jackson and Rick Martin, who stepped up to the plate there. Member highlights. So we've talked about this. I don't know if it was confusing last week, but someone said, I'm really concerned because I thought Rotary was about business networking. It is about business networking, but I think Rotary in probably the last decade has gotten away from business networking. So one of the initiatives this year is to get back to business networking within Rotary. So that's why I've asked, and we're highlighting members 3 to 5 minutes every week to talk about their business. So I got a volunteer this morning, James Piedmont.
Morning.
So I got, I don't know if you're doing this, so this is So my name is James Piedmont, and I work at Flow Lexus in Cary Greensboro. So I've been in the car business for about 40 years, and I've been in Lexus for 25 years. So, and a lot of people here have supported my business over the years, and this type of thing. So, and I appreciate that quite a bit. So, and if you have any, one thing I would offer my services, not services, but if anybody needs help purchasing a vehicle, this type of thing, even if you're not going to buy it from me, I'm more than happy to help you in the industry. Get a good price, get a good car, get a Carfax, things like that. I'll be glad to help you out with purchasing a car. So, do I got any questions for me?
You have inventory?
So it's, the challenge right now is inventory for the car business. And like yesterday I was looking at my lot and I was like, wow, that's impressive. We got Well, of course. Sitting out there. So, and the last one, we only had two, so that's a challenge, and a lot of the cars that come in are pre-sold, or pre-ordered. Cars that, are bringing, not necessarily premium price, but, they are bringing, because of the supply and demand, they're bringing close to sticker in a lot of cases. But on the other hand, if you have a trades are bringing so much more money than were, say, 6 months ago. I can give you a lot of, we have an system we use to appraise cars, and so the appraisals are saved in the system, so someone who didn't buy a car 6 months ago can come back in and we pull the car up and we'll see like, wow, that car's worth, $5,000 more now than it was 6 months ago. So if you get a trade in, it's a good time. It's a good time to buy it. Anyway, because like our dealership, don't charge additional market. Manufacturers are still doing rebates.
How much did you buy for this car with 400,000?
Yeah, a lot, for sure. It's like a collector's item, so.
Oh, yeah, it's a museum.
Yeah, exactly.
With all the Carvana and all those kind of cars, why should I come and buy a car with you? I can get online and get one that's like that.
Right. Well, one thing we see a lot of Carvana, not only talking about Carvana, and that the car business has changed so much, over the years, and there was a time we didn't have the internet, a lot of advertising was done in newspapers and things like that. So it is a kind of a rapid change in the industry. The Carvana is it's not necessarily a bad way to buy a car. The Carvana not being like a retail outlet for the most part, they don't have access to the really good trade-ins, the local one-owner cars, and so a lot of the cars come from auctions and things like that. So I don't want to cut them down, but I'm just saying that their car quality might not be one, I'm sure it would be, but the quality would get like a franchise dealership. That's going to recondition the cars and the cars will be, as close to 100% as they can be.
I don't have a question, James, but I'm gonna help answer that one. He's a humble dude. I can tell you what I buy one from him. Because you get him and the service that they have. People at this table have bought at least 8 cars that I know of. So, and they have a rock star service team, the sales team, and you get paid. So,
my
peanuts.
When do you foresee the electric cars dominating the road versus traditional gasoline cars?
When do I see that?
5 years, 10 years, never?
Yeah, that's a hard question to answer, because I know just from the standpoint of Lexus, we've been very proactive in the hybrids, but we don't have, and we're just now coming out with electric cars. I'm sure that technology is obviously there, and so I would say probably the next 5 to 10 years is probably going to be more and more.
Thank you.
This morning we had a couple of people from the Piedmont.
Sorry, we're not happy about it.
Oh, we've got happy.
We're so happy.
Birthday girl, come on.
I've got 2 happy dollars, but not about Rose and Victoria. One is the knowledge that it is Peter's birthday today.
Today. Wait a minute.
Wait.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Peter. Happy birthday.
So I decided I was going to career options here, and I'm going back to school. So
Yeah.
we're going back to GTCC and I'm studying Italian. I figure in about 15 years, I ought to be fluent enough to have that as a second career option.
Kim.
I just wanted to say hi, and it's really great to be here and see all your smiling faces and to let you know that we miss you. It's good to be here.
I've got $5 happy. One is, I told Pete this morning that I was throwing a birthday party for him with his very closest friends, so. Surprise birthday party, you know, and, anyway, and he also uses some makeup from Rotary makeup. But, and happy birthday to Kim and Gigi.
Wow.
This happy dollar is to recognize Danielle. I think that she's done a wonderful job for Title V. I was at Guilford Courthouse yesterday, and it was fantastic. And I know Danielle has a very full schedule. We're very grateful for what you're doing. So,
I got one body before you throw it down. Yeah, Gigi got mine for the dollar, so I'll throw a 5 because I want to recognize Danielle. Great job. We had 18 people, 3 clubs were recognized. We got a new member application for the satellite or for the 20 club.
Our club,
Our
David
club.
Patterson.
Yeah, so 505s carry on, they're doing extremely well. This past weekend, I had my old boy Wilder in town, his girlfriend. They packed up a whole bunch of crap out of my house, threw it in the truck, and disappeared into the sunset on Sunday. So maybe 15, 20 more trips, I'll be back to normal.
I just want to add to the 505 idea here, because I think the best part about it is we've started to see new faces, even from our club, people that didn't come out before. I think it's been the fact that we're trying to support local businesses and it moves us around the area more, so it's more convenient to more people. And it has been really nice to see some more people coming out and getting to talk to them outside of this and meeting new faces. So please come and come early, stay for 30 minutes. But it really, I think if you haven't been, I think you'll be really pleased with what you see and the people you meet.
Right. Well, I got a quick one here. Anybody see Jonathan Smith?
Whoa.
Charter member? Whoa! Well, I couldn't find my rainbows this morning, but, you know, I tried to do my part.
Where you hanging out in Florida these days?
No, hanging out. We're about half the time at Riverbank, at Lake Tillery, and the other half here. Actually, it's working out about 2/3 here, 1/3 there. So,
Nice
good to
shirt.
see you. Yeah, nice shirt. Thank you, guy.
Rick? Yes, sir. It's getting barbecue time, and pig stock's coming up. Tell you where the heavy dollar, I don't know what it is, but let me just take this opportunity to remind everybody, we're looking for sponsors. I've got a bunch of these posters out here and really happy with that. And we're asking everybody to think about places you can ask businesses, your business maybe, that you put up one of the posters and ask for sponsorship. This is a really, really, really good cause. I know it's all about barbecue for some of us, but that's it. No, really, this children of Vietnam, we all know what it's about. And if you don't read that story, the little write-up that one of the girls wrote about getting educated and an opportunity to get out, I mean, this is really good stuff. So sorry for the plug. I just owe you. Okay.
All right. Well, Grandpappy said that artificial intelligence will never be a match for natural stupidity.
So this morning, thanks again to Jim Kennedy, this is another suggestion he made. And I'm certainly glad he did. We have Kevin Redding and Carrie Jo Hanson with them Piedmont Land Conservancy. Kevin is presenting, he's a Eagle Scout who went to Western Carolina, got a BS in Natural Resource Management. And he went to Bobby, East Carolina, and got a master's degree in public administration. He worked for the Land Trust of Central North Carolina in Salisbury for 7 years before coming to Greensboro in 2007, working for Piedmont Land Conservancy. He likes to grow tomatoes and hot peppers. He's a fly fisherman. We talk a lot about fishing and stuff. He likes to do basketball, and his wife Lori and 2 children, Zoom and Molly Ruth, like to get outdoors. So he's going to tell us about what they do.
Good morning. How's everybody doing?
Good morning.
So you heard where I went to school, so if you want to absolutely win the losers bracket next week, you pick the 2 schools that I went to. It's been a tough start to football season for us. But again, I'm Kevin Redding. Carrie Jo Manson is with me. She's our, I still call her our new development director. She's been with us for about 6 months now. She's had a long history at Guilford College. She graduated from Guilford College. Her dad graduated from Guilford College. So, thank you, sir. We're really happy to be here. I know a few folks, but not as many as I thought I might. So hopefully I'll learn something, you'll learn something. When I get done here, I teach an environmental law policy class at UNC Greensboro. And the question about electric vehicles, we talk about it every single day. So I don't have an answer either, but I do think my kids are now 15 and 13. And of course, I'll put them in a crappy used car when they start driving, but when they get ready to buy their first vehicle, when they have a job and are responsible, it'll be an electric vehicle, no doubt about it. So, which I think is kind of cool. Anyway, we are the Piedmont Land Conservancy. We cover 9 counties in the Piedmont of North Carolina. We're a nonprofit organization. We are anchored on Cornwallis Drive, just right where that really horrible intersection of Battleground and Lawndale and all the wrecks happen. We're about 100 yards down from there. But we've been around for 30 years. How many of you know about the Conservancy? Okay, good. Well, very soon we're going to hire a communications director. We approved that at our board meeting this week. So by the end of the year, everybody in our region is going to know who we are and what we do. But the cool thing is what we do, everybody loves. And in today's world, it's really nice to work for an organization that is universally across the board, all across the spectrum, people like what we do. And we conserve land for our generation, but more importantly, for future generations. So I grew up a mile off of 95 at the Peach Orchard Road exit, if you're going towards Charlotte. Anybody driven by Peach Orchard Road? I'm not that old, but when I did grow up, we had to get on 85 and drive through the country for about 20 or 30 minutes to go to Charlotte. And now, I went and visited my parents a couple of weeks ago, it is Charlotte. It's the doorstep of Charlotte. How many of you grew up in Greensboro, the Triad area? Has it changed any since you were growing up? It's unbelievable. And it's not going to stop. With I-40, I-85, the new bypass, we've got an international airport, we've got some of the world's best hospitals within here. My wife works at home, so I have to say that as a disclaimer. So it's not going to stop. I think the new census that just came out, we have about 10.4 million people that live in North Carolina. And it's not going to slow down. People north of us are aching to get down here and live. People south of us are aching to get up here and live. So I think the projections are something by like 2050, 2060, which sounds like, it sounds like when the Jetsons are going to be flying around in little spaceships, but it's only 45 years from now that we're going to be close to 15 million people in North Carolina. So to put that in perspective, it will be like picking up South Carolina and dropping it on North Carolina. And all those people have to go somewhere. They all have to have houses. They all have to have roads. They have to have shopping centers. They have to have landfills. But more importantly, they have to have food, safe, clean, local food, and they have to have water. And we've been really lucky this year. Actually, we've been lucky for the last 8 or 10 years. We've not had a significant drought in this part of North Carolina in a while. I think the last, it feels dry right now. It always does in August and September. But I think 2001 was the last really bad drought that we had here. But we're gonna have another one, and we don't know if it's next year or 5 years or 10 years. But we are really lucky to live in this region. We've got great rivers and streams so that we have clean water, we have enough water for industry to keep coming here. We can grow food. But we're the side of that where we also want to protect what makes our region so special. And I grew up going to Hanging Rock and Pilot Mountain and Morrow Mountain State Park and Uwharrie National Forest. To me, those places are as much of what makes North Carolina so cool as our basketball and our barbecue. And I think really highly of both of those. So if I can figure out how to do this, and first of all, thanks to Jim Kennedy, I don't see his face anymore, but we appreciate the opportunity to come here today. So this is, hopefully you recognize, the state of North Carolina, and we work in the top part of the Piedmont. So we cover 9 counties, and if you think about it, along the state line, we have Surrey, Stokes, Rockingham, and Castle County. And then we have Yadkin, Forsyth, Guilford, Randolph, and Alamance, and part of Randolph County. And what's really cool is Forsyth and Guilford are very urbanized counties. And in fact, you think of Forsyth County, about a large percent of that is Winston-Salem. And then Castle County, I think it has 6 stoplights in it right now. Very rural. All those Virginia border counties are old tobacco counties. They're all transitioning, but really important. They have the Dam River running through it, Hanging Rock, Mayo River State Park. So it's a really cool landscape that we get to work in. There's a little friend. So I've got a few slides just to highlight some of the projects that we've done. And I don't have a watch, but I'll try to wrap this up pretty quickly and then take any questions, because I think the questions are a lot funner than more fun. But here's our mission statement. We protect natural lands, farms, and waters for present and future generations. And we connect people to nature. And how do we do that? We work on public access to land. And some of the projects will highlight that. We protect natural heritage. And if you think about natural heritage, it's the plants and the animals that are home to the Piedmont. Water quality is a huge one. I mean, we were the epicenter of the United States water quality discussion a few years ago when the Dam River had the coal ash issue take place. And family farms. We're in a really cool part of the world where we can grow food and agriculture for about 10 months out of the 12 months of the year. Almost every Saturday, I'm at the Curb Market on Yanceyville Street getting fresh produce. It's really cool. We've got the bigger farmers market out on 40. We've got small farmers markets in almost every town. I've been to the one in Elkin, the one in Reedsville. Really amazing. And don't take it for granted how lucky we are to be able to do that. So one property that we inherited or was given to us by a lady that lives in Santa Barbara, California. It's called the Knight Brown Nature Preserve. And we got it in 2008. We built about 3.5 miles of trail. It's completely forested, and it's open to the public. So if you want to walk out there, you can walk any of these trails. And chances are you won't see anybody while you're out there. We had a hike out there Sunday afternoon for Grandparents' Day. We had about 25 people come out and go for a hike. So this is Ballou's Lake on the smaller map there, and it's tucked right beside of Ballou's Lake, right near. If you've ever been to Carolina Marina, we're a half mile from Carolina Marina. This property, I'm trying to just give an overview, but Mount Shepherd is in the foreground here. Mount Shepherd is the highest point in Randolph County, and it's owned by the Methodist Church. It's the Mount Shepherd Youth and Retreat Center. We have something called a conservation easement on that mountain. So forever, that property is going to be forested, it's gonna be open for wildlife, it's gonna be there for youth education to take place, and just a really great source. This is the Mayo River, this is the Virginia state line, and the Mayo drains down, and all that property in yellow was put together, it must be some kind of timer, sorry, in about 22 tracts by two guys in Greensboro in the 50s. And their idea was they were going to build a dam right there, and they were going to pipe and sell all that water to the city of Greensboro. And over time, they lost out because we built the Randleman Reservoir and we figured out other ways to provide water to Greensboro. But they owned, the family owned all of this property, it's about 360 acres, 320 acres. And we were able to work through all the complicated legalities of that. And we bought that property and we gave it to the Mayo River State Park. So that is now my land, and it's your land, and it's everybody in North Carolina's land. So you can put in, this is called the boiling pole, if you've ever been on the Mayo River. You can put in right there and you can float all the way down, which is about a 6-mile canoe trip, kayak trip. And you will not see a house the entire time. Totally forested piece of property. So that's the Mayo River, and it's only about 35 minutes from here. It's really not far. You go straight up 220 and put in. This is the new Dan River Game Land, and I know the maps aren't great, but that little yellow piece of land is 1,725 acres in Rockingham County. Yes.
Is that still permit only?
Yes. And I had a turkey permit this year, and it is regular. So please don't apply for a turkey permit. Does somebody else have a hand up? Okay. So this property is a fascinating piece of property. It's been 4 different things in the last 45 years. First, it was slated to be an interstate landfill. And it was going to be where Virginia, West Virginia, other states sent all their trash, and they were going to bury it right on the banks of the Dan River. And that thankfully fell through. Then it was going to be a state prison. There was actually, it was a big piece of land. There was going to be a big prison built right there, and really bad people from all over the state would come there to live. And then after that fell through, it was going to be a major industrial center until they realized that there's not a highway close to there and there's not a railroad close to there, and it really made terrible sense to be an industrial center. And now it is a game land that is open to the public to hunt and fish on, but also outside of hunting season, you can just go hiking out there if you want to. Really spectacular piece of property.
Where is that piece again?
Don't worry about
So the property is located on this smaller map right here. The city of Eden is right there. It's about 3 miles southwest of Eden.
Okay.
Again, this map, the pictures will do more justice, but this oasis in the middle of Winston-Salem, this is a huge neighborhood in Winston, downtown Winston, another big neighborhood in Winston. This is it. It's called the Crossdoor Farm. And if you've ever driven over an older road, you see the cows over on the right-hand side. Well, in February of 2020, about 2 weeks before the world shut down, we purchased a conservation easement on 100 acres of that farm. This is a good picture because you can see that's downtown Winston-Salem. This is the farm, some board members of ours. But that no other city in North Carolina has something like that. It's really rare to have that large of an undeveloped property that close to downtown of a city. So very soon, we will be building a public trail that'll be about 2.5 miles long. So you'll be able to park on one side of the property, walk across it, and potentially turn around and come back, and you'll have about a 4 or 5 mile walk on the hands there. So we're really thrilled with that. But here closer to home, some of the bigger projects that we've done, we had our board meeting was out at Price Park. Does everybody know where Price Park is? Intersection of Hobbs and New Garden Road. It was the old Jefferson Pilot Clubhouse property way back. And we were able to work with a couple of local foundations and families, and we bought it. And we gave it to the city of Greensboro to be a passive recreational park. So now if you drive through there, you see these wavy fields of native grasses growing. You'll see deer out there, turkeys, a lot of, every environmental group in Greensboro meets there. The birders, the butterfly people, the amphibian people, mushroom people. It's like an oasis for people that are interested in that kind of stuff.
There's also a glass collection place out there.
And it's also where you drop your wine glasses.
Yeah.
Other things we've worked on are Guilford Courthouse National Military Park. A lot of times it's so easy to forget because if you're driving down Battleground, we don't do a great job of displaying it and commemorating it. But the courthouse, if you know the story, was basically the battle that tilted the Revolutionary War so that we are all now Americans. And if you've never been to the reenactment in, I think it's like the middle of March every year, it is really cool thing to go to, really cool. So there were 3 major lines of battle at Guilford Courthouse. And over time, the National Courthouse Military Park only owned 2 of those. And we worked with another group called the Guilford Battleground Company, who were kind of the advocacy people, and they loved the park, but they didn't know much about land conservation or purchasing land. And we were able to buy up some of the lots that included the 3rd battle line and get those into the hands of the park. So now they're protected, and now they can do the archaeology studies and they can do the educational tours. The Hall River State Park is kind of a new gem up on the northern part of the county. Really great place. Now there's a new trail coming off of Church Street called the Iron Ore Trail, about 3.5 miles, I believe. And local farms. This is in the city of Half Point. This was the first conservation easement we ever did on a farm, and it's called Lindale Farm. It's 105 acres on the Deep River, and it will always be a farm. And it's really cool because we did the project in 1994 or 5, and you can see the city of Half Point just closing in on it. But we know basically there's a gate that it will never be developed. It's always going to be a farm. So this, I love this picture. This is Pallet Mountain off in the distance. I might be wrong about that. That may be Hanging Rock. But the river.
That's Pallet Mountain.
Yeah. Just some of the wildlife that we have here. And if you have any questions, I'll just stop right there and take questions.
Yes, sir. Folks, balance the need, you mentioned that 5 million more people are joining North Carolina. The argument against, I heard both sides. Some of Summerfield, big debate of land development, water conservation, water table. How do you find that balance between the need to accommodate those folks?
Yeah.
But the water issues and all the things.
So we walk a really fine line. We do not oppose any development unless it's on the property that we own.
Right.
We have protected since 1990 a little bit under 30,000 acres. Sounds like a whole lot of property, but we operate in a region of nearly, I don't know the exact number, but close to 1 million acres, if not more. So I don't think our 30,000 is denting the opportunity to develop and other properties. You can drive down the road and there's enough for sale signs out there in front of a farm that we can't protect them all. We simply don't have the capacity. But one of the big selling points, and if anybody here is in economic development or banking or whatever it is that attracts people from the north, the south, the west that want to come here, it's our quality of life. They want to have trails to walk on. They want to have farmers markets to go to, and they want to know, a fire is not going to come ravaging through our neighborhood. And thankfully, in this part of the world, that's probably not going to happen. But it's a quality of life. And I would put ours right up there against any other regions in the world.
How bad is the water situation? I hear a lot of that, the reasons why the development shouldn't happen. We have water shortage, particularly in places like Stokesdale, Oak Ridge, Southfield.
So there's a lot of answers to that. We still have a very adequate supply. The people that worry about water are people that are on wells.
Right.
And groundwater is I have a degree in natural resource management focused on water quality, and I still don't understand how groundwater works because it's not as simple as watching a river flow down. But eventually, a lot of those septic tanks and well waters will be brought on to the lakes and the residential supply. And getting those septic tanks out is a good thing because they're not as efficient as our wastewater treatment plants are. But I think we still have a very solid water supply. Yes.
That part of Mayo River that you were showing, is there any white water or is it all calm?
I think the boiling hole itself is considered like a class 2 water. It's
And that's at the head?
yeah, it's up almost to Virginia. I know a lot of local kayakers really like to go there. There's also a big rock, so they can station someone on the rock and film them as they come down and navigate the rapid there. But other than that, and you can put in below it if you don't want to have to navigate it, but it's fairly common. Yeah. And white shirt.
Does your website list some of the properties or all of the properties, how to get to them, the features like trails, access points?
Here's this.
There's a link to the trail access, Piedmont Legacy Trails, so there's a lot of trail information there. Yeah, and it's great.
So we've launched a new initiative called Piedmont Legacy Trails, and what we figured out was every county and city are working on trail development, but they weren't all talking to each other. So there may be a trail in Rockingham County, and there might be a trail in Guilford County, and they get really close to each other, but they're not communicating. And if we can link them, then you go from 2 2-mile trails all of a sudden to like a 6 or 7 mile trail. So, yes, sir.
Where do you get your funding?
That's Gary Joe's job. So we're a private nonprofit organization. So we rely on donations. We have about, at any given time, 1,000 to 1,100 donors to the organization, which I think is good, but we also have 1.5 million people that live in Piedmont. So I think we're not going to get all of them, but I think 1.4 million should make a donation. But we do a few events. We're having an event at LaVallery Park in October 9th called Strap Fest, and there's going to be music, and we're partnering with Little Brother Brewing downtown on that. Obviously, events have been really difficult to navigate for the last 2 years, but mostly private contributions. There are some companies and some foundations that support us as well. But by and large, it's kind of a grassroots. We don't have one silver donor that really floats our boat. We have 1,000 of them. Yeah.
Are you you partner with foundations, or do you just have a large endowment fund that you're purchasing this?
Endowment fund? No, we don't. I would like to, but no, we don't even have an endowment. We have a stewardship endowment at the community foundation, but we have a board reserve. But yeah, there are foundations in Greensboro and Winston, primarily Greensboro and Winston. There are a few in Rockingham County, a few in Randolph County, but most of our donations are from private individuals that they love what we do. Everybody, has this mantra of wanting to leave the world a better place, but that maybe they don't know how. So a lot of people give to the Nature Conservancy, and we work with the Nature Conservancy. I know their directors in North Carolina and several other states. They do incredible work, but they're focused on the Brazilian rainforest and the ice caps and 1,000 and 1,000-acre ranches in the West. They're not concerned with a 50-acre farm in Guilford County, and we are. So that's the difference. We're the small local nonprofit.
Well, do you find that you're competing with developers when or are the owners typically land conservation folks or?
Normally they are oriented toward us. What we tell landowners and others is once that for sale sign goes out, it's too late for us, because a developer has a line of credit, they have bank backing, they can go make an offer tomorrow. We need a runway to run down. So we need to be able to write some grants to raise some money. Maybe we get it under option, and that gives us a year or two to raise some money. But on the flip side of that, when the state parks identify a piece of property, sometimes they will call us because we can act a whole lot faster than a county or a state can act, and we can jump in and grab it. Yes, sir.
On average, what percentage of market value are you offering property conservation?
For an easement, well, up to 100%. There are some tax technicalities that sometimes the landowner is better off getting 75% because then they can stay in the present use tax system, but that's really complicated. And if we buy a property, if we can raise 100% of the appraised value, we can pay that. It's just, can we raise enough money? And is the landowner willing to accept appraised value? And in the last 6 months, land values are just going through the roof. So it's hard for appraisals right now to keep up with the value. So we'll get an appraisal done and the landowner will laugh at it and say, well, I know so-and-so just sold something for a lot more, but in the appraisal world, there have to be multiple comps out there. So we are kind of in a pinch right now.
Are you looking for appraisers?
More appraisers? We're always looking for.
Do you know somebody?
I'll take your card.
Are you looking for land access?
I'm just looking for more business.
Yeah. With the family farm example, I understand there's restrictions and it may be similar to the land in Winston, but strictly that high school family farm. If that farm ever became, that land ever became non-economically viable as a farm, what happens at that point? Does it
Well,
have to be
it's-
farmed?
And there's always going to be a market. There's a house on it in 90-some acres. There's always going to be a market for someone who wants a large tract of land to themselves. They don't have to farm it. I mean, they can plant trees on it if they want to. But there will always be a market for someone who wants a secluded house on 90 acres where they can hunt or they can, ride their horses or do whatever it is they choose.
So it doesn't have to be farmed, because what is the restriction on that?
Yeah, so the restrictions are more what you can't do with the property than what you can do with the property. We just don't want it subdivided. We don't want a bunch of houses built on it and a bunch of roads and industrial stuff built on it. So as long as it's open, whether it's agriculture, forestry, wildlife habitat, either one. Yeah,
Actually, roughly what percent is you hold ownership on versus the land?
We have, I say 29,000 acres protected total. I think we have easements on about 16,000. We have bought and transferred to either state parks or counties or cities, about 8,000, and I think we own about 5,000. Does that add up, Tom?
I think so.
Okay, good. One more question, I think. and then-
I would say I'm working on one of the plots now, and they have a conservation easement that restricts the land to agricultural use.
Good, thank you. All right, thank you all for having me. I'll hang around for a few minutes. Oh, I got to draw.
Draw. Maybe somebody.
All right, 943. All right.
Yeah. It's got- it's over. Yeah. All right. Yeah.